In a flash, I have the power to melt away sorrows and bring forward profound happiness. I'm versatile, so you can take me out in the sunshine or save me for a rainy day. And my most handy feature is my dual joy injector capability, which means that as I'm inspiring happiness in others, I'm filling you with joy too. Yep, I'm a pretty cool tool. Love your smile.
That's author Niki Svara reading from her book Peace Talks, that's Piece, where your parts of your body give you a pep talk every day. We talk about that and more on the next Harness the Power of Planning podcast coming up next.
Hi, happy Thursday. Welcome to your live chat with Alegre and Natasha. I'm Natasha.
I'm Alegre. And together
we are BYWD, or Beyond Your Wildest Dreams. And
yes.
We're here every Thursday to chat with you about what's going on in our world, and usually little things about planning, parenting, and other things every Thursday morning, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern.
And if it's your first time joining us, we are on a mission to help moms prioritize themselves, save time, and accomplish their goals. And we do that through our weekly live chat, which if you like audio only, we also publish as the Harness the Power of Planning podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you prefer, reading and doing workbooks, we have our beautiful little bouquet of quick read, they're 1 hour or less workbooks to help you get a quick win and work on prioritizing yourself, saving time, and prioritizing your goals. So
yes, that's what we're about. And we do that again, like you said, through courses, workshops, and those workbooks. And we have a really special thing coming up. If you're looking at us on Instagram or on YouTube or on Facebook, you see that there's a little QR code up here. It says Mama Self Love. And that is coming up on July 28th. It's our Mama Self Love Bootcamp. And so it's a half-day virtual event that really is about you and learning to express your self-love and or get in touch with it, self-acceptance. We're really all about you. It's really a half day all about you. And we like to say that it's not just about like sitting in front of your screen and taking notes. It's about kind of getting into the nitty gritty. We have some really aside from the segments that Alegre and I will be leading, we have some really amazing guest segment leaders as well. Quick win experts. We're all about the quick win.
Yeah.
So for our books.
Because we're busy moms. You need a quick win.
Seriously. Some things are, tried and true. And listen, we talk too about like how sometimes like long-term goals and planning, like those are marathons, but also you need those little things that'll spark a fire under you, get those little dopamine hits.
Yeah.
But also just really things that will start to work for you right away, as opposed to, you've got to study this for 6 months before you'll see results. So you've already, if you've stuck with us before, you've already gotten a chance to talk with us when we had a conversation with the Crafty Chica. So she's going to be leading this really great segment on just getting in touch with your creativity and going ahead and being creative.
Mexi inspired crafting. So that'll
her
be
stuff
really
is
cool.
Great, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I love her Instagram and stuff. It's so colorful and fun, and it's great ideas. Yeah.
And then we have a Polynesian dancer joining us who's going to show us how to unlock trauma stored in the hips. Maybe you've heard this before, that we carry a lot of trauma and stress in our hips. And so Polynesian dancing is great for that. And I do a little bit of it. It's really fun. And so I'm excited to be introducing you to that. And, the power of the internet, right? We could never have brought her in person to do this because she lives like in the Cook Islands, right?
Amazing.
So,
yeah, right.
So that's
exactly.
super cool.
Yeah. In that way, technology is great. We've already had some technology snafus this morning. But we also are blessed to have one of the other quick win experts that is going to take a different segment of the Mama Self-Love Bootcamp, and that is Niki Svara. And Niki is going to lead a quick win session where we're going to be getting in touch with not just our hips, but the whole rest of our body too. Niki is the author of Peace Talks, which is a book about really finding ways to like love your body as your body is right now. And she'll talk more about that in just a second. And not only is she written that book. She also happens to be a longtime friend of mine, and she's just a lovely human being, and just super happy that she said yes to joining us on the 28th of July. So I'm just going to take a second here and just bring Niki in to our conversation. Hi, Niki.
Hi.
So glad you could join us.
I'm really happy to be here. Good to see you both.
Yes, super fun.
So Niki, tell us more. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Natasha has a question.
I was going to say, even though we've been friends for a really long time, and I remember when you were writing this book, and I remember when you were going on this journey of, self-love and self-acceptance of on your own, and then recognizing how this could be a gift that you could offer up to others. But it's been a while since we've talked about that. So I'd love to hear about your origin story in this area of your life.
Yeah. The origin story, it feels like it started, I think the journey for body love and self-acceptance for me really started specifically in 2005. I had just moved to Los Angeles from Ashland, Oregon, where I had all kinds of personal and spiritual development training there. And I came to Los Angeles to sing, and to also to develop my skills as a coach. And I thought, what could really be beneficial in Los Angeles? And body image came to mind, right? Because it just did. And it also made sense because I had really struggled in my life with my body image. I mean, I remember times of trying to get ready for parties and just having extreme, I'm just going to call it what it is. It was self-loathing. I mean, the room was a disaster with 50 outfits, nothing fit right. And it was just this kind of vice grip stress feeling that was so unpleasant and just so unkind to myself. So when I arrived to Los Angeles in 2005, and I thought, how could I best use my coaching skills that I had learned and was developing, I decided to focus on body image. And I founded lovethewayoulook.com, where I work with women to really come to a place of greater self-acceptance with self and body. And within that, I started writing a weekly message called Peace Talks to my mailing list, which are short inspirational messages that are written from the perspective of your body and different body parts. So it's kind of like, getting that feeling of connection with your body. And then over the years, I've compiled many of these. And finally, in 2018, I have it right here. I self-published this book. So Peace Talks.
Oh, peace, P-I, for the people just listening, it's P-I-E-C-E, peace,
right,
like a piece
of
like a piece of
your
pie.
Like a piece of your body.
Or the piece of your body.
Piece of pie seems delicious.
Also excellent.
Yeah. I don't know if we have time, but I'm happy to read one of these messages to give you a little idea about what it's
that's
like.
great.
Great.
Okay,
Yeah.
I do have a favorite. So this was published in 2018, and I've had a lot of opportunities since then to put all of my skills in practice for myself as well, by the way, because I think they say you teach what you need to learn. And as our bodies are aging, there's just more opportunities for love and self-acceptance. So here we go. I know it's frustrating when your clothes don't fit the way you want them to. But remember that most clothes you buy in stores are made in cookie cutter sizes that have little to do with your beautiful and unique shape. Mass production doesn't cater to individuality, and you are like one out of a billion radiant stars. There's no one quite like you, and one size can never really fit all. That's simply not the way life designed itself to be. I was not created to fit perfectly into your clothes, but I was created perfectly. Love your body.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites. I'll say this last thing and then I'll let you ask more questions.
No, go ahead.
But, and how I have written these messages. I'm not currently writing them at the moment, but literally it's a download. It's, what it's whatever wants to come through at that moment as a message to myself, and it's a message to others.
It's really beautiful. It's something needed, something necessary. Talk about quick wins, right? I love how these are all just really bite-sized pieces. I have my copy of Peace Talks. It is on my nightstand. And I love how it's one of those things where you can like kind of just go lottery style and like flip through and see what chance brings forward for you. And talk about the quick win idea is that you really beautifully and so succinctly encapsulated this idea of I love also the perspective of this is your body talking to you, so I had for a moment as you're reading that reconfigure the way I was thinking about it as you were saying, you're like, this, and you're like, I don't fit perfectly in your clothes. I'm like, of course not. You're Niki. You wouldn't fit in my clothes. I'm like, oh, right. She means my body. So it took me a second, but I really love that concept of, I may not fit perfectly into your clothes, but I was made perfectly. And, these are just really beautiful, necessary messages, because my brain will very soon override that idea, and come back to some other older conditioning. And so I love that they're good, digestible chunks that you've decided to put it in that form, right? So because sometimes, especially the way my life is structured, it is really difficult for me to sit down and read an entire book, or read an entire book, even with the full concept. I listen to a lot of books, but this kind of form of it being small little chunks is just so much easier for how I'm able to digest content, these little.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Niki, I don't have a copy of Peace Talks. Is it like 365 thoughts, or is it like one per day, or is it just kind of, there's a certain number and you're just supposed to flip through and
I forget, actually, it's not 365. It's
okay.
It's under that. So you can just read it straight through, or you can flip to any page, open up any page and read that. I like to do that because, and by the way, when I say I like to do that, like, ooh, I read my own book, but the thing is, it's actually, like I said, the messages were like almost like a divine download. Their messages just, I need to hear it too.
Mm-hmm. Could you read a couple more? Could you just flip through and read a couple?
Sure.
See what happens?
Sure. Well, I have my faves that are all. When you were born, someone held you close and loved you instantly. People gathered around to see you, and angels beamed with joy. You were so precious, so magnificent, so perfect. Everything about you, a true miracle. You haven't changed a bit. Welcome to this day. Love yourself.
Oh, I love that.
That's wonderful. I hope any of you joining us this morning, needed to hear that as much as I did. I was listening to the Good Inside podcast with Dr. Becky yesterday, and the guest she had on reminds me of what you just read, which is just this idea of when we were born, we didn't have any of these thoughts of like, oh man, I'm such a loser. I can't crawl yet. Like that was not like inherently our thoughts. It was just like, I want to get over there where that rattle is. And I'm going to rock for 3 weeks back and forth before I, and exhaust myself until finally one day I start, and go ahead and continue on learning how to walk and so forth. But you didn't have those thoughts. Those thoughts aren't inherently embedded in you, that like, oh, I suck, or this part of me is not great, or look at how I've tried and I keep failing, and all of those judgments come much later. We're not preloaded with those judgments, and so this is such a beautiful perspective there. I love this idea of you're perfect when you come into this world, you're perfect as you are. And that continues to be true even in your 50s. And even though, it's also a hard concept to go, I'm perfect. You know what I mean? Like, because man, there's a lot of things assigned to that idea, as far as like, maybe you're like as if you were bragging, or, something like that. To say, I'm perfect as I am. I feel like, women are definitely not encouraged to just like really be okay with how they are, right? Mm-hmm. You're too loud, you're too this, you're too that, you're too, you're too obnoxious, you're too pushy, you're too, you know, you're too much of anything, or not enough of anything, right? You're never perfect as you are. And that's, I love that. Thank you. I'm so glad you randomly picked that one.
Yeah. Yeah. I have one more if you'd like to hear it.
Yes.
I have a whole book more, but I have
Right.
Unless you'd like to segue onto, what would you like to do?
No, I like having these sampling because, one is not really enough to get a sense of the breadth of your book. So yeah,
Okay.
let's hear one more.
All right, let's see. Which one? Okay, do you want to hear one from your age or from your smile? I like them both.
Ooh, can we hear both of them then? If you'd like
Yeah,
to
let's do both. Let's do both.
Okay, we'll do smile first. Oh, I shouldn't have told you what it was. Oh, I ruined the surprise. Okay, because all right. In a flash, I have the power to melt away sorrows and bring forward profound happiness. I'm versatile, so you can take me out in the sunshine or save me for a rainy day. And my most handy feature is my dual joy injector capability, which means that as I'm inspiring happiness in others, I'm filling you with joy too. Yep, I'm a pretty cool tool. Love your smile.
I really love that one because there's actually a lot of brain science behind the fact that if you need to get out of a bad mood, smile. And I mean, what's more of a quick win than that? And yet some people resist it, right? They're like, no, I don't believe it's like, what's it going to cost you to try smiling and see if it makes you feel better?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Right. Have you ever heard that figure or adage where it takes more muscles and more energy to frown? Like there's more muscles at work in your face to work a frown in than to smile. Like it's easier to smile. It uses less energy. You use less muscles to do it, so it's just kind of like, it makes a really good case for just making that little upturn of the sides of your lips. And what a really clever way to get to that idea. And I again, this, coming from your body, this message coming directly from your smile is so I couldn't stop smiling as you were
I know, I can't
My
stop
cheeks
smiling
are
now. Our
cheeks
cheeks are hurting.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
You're back,
so-
Alegre's little camera
Yeah.
technology situation. That was lovely.
So less energy, fewer muscles, and right, it doesn't cost you anything. And it takes, I don't remember how many seconds you have to hold it to make a difference, but yeah, but it's true. It really changes things. Like I have another little hack that I use for myself whenever I'm in a bad mood, which is 3 cartwheels. Like I cannot do 3 cartwheels and not feel a million times better. And
I love that.
I don't know if it's because it's an inversion or if it's because of like, it's a whole body, like it really gets the whole body going, or if it's just because it makes me feel like I'm 10 years old again. But if I'm ever in a bad mood, 3 cartwheels will always take care of it.
That is so fun. That is not something I could do. You'd never do a cartwheel, not even one, not ever, not my entire
That's
life.
why I was giggling. I was giggling because if I try the cartwheel, I might break a wrist at this point.
Well, I do have a funny story. I once cartwheeled right onto a bee.
Oh no, that's not so funny.
Yeah, I was like, here I go, and then I was like, and I was like, oh my gosh, how did I cartwheel right onto a bee? I mean, there was like all this square footage, and I chose the inch that had a bee on it. It was
Ow.
So
I hope nobody told you to then be careful.
Ooh, ouch.
That's not something my dad would have said to me.
But right? That's
I know.
Total dad joke.
It is a dad joke.
Total dad joke. Yeah, read us that other one that you said is a good one.
Okay, last one. Here we go. I really am much more than just the number of years that have gone by. I am the culmination of your thoughts, words, and actions expressed over time. I am the result of you feeling happy and alive, or you feeling tired and stressed with life. And youthfulness is an attitude that defies wrinkles, because the youthful one feels young even with the wrinkles. Love your age. P.S. You can still count the candles on the cake if it makes you happy.
Well, Allegra and I are in milestone birthday year this year. And so that is a really, I feel topical. I've always kind of felt like I've never had a problem telling my people my age. I just feel like that's never really been too much of a thing, right? As far as like, oh, I'm 29 for, 30 years or whatever. And by the way, if that's how you want to do it, that's fine. I'm just saying that that's just not how I related to my age. I always just felt like, I remember when I was 29 and someone was like, oh, you're turning 30? Aren't you kind of like, oh, you're going to turn 30? And I was like, it's happening whether I wanted to or not. So I might as well just be okay with it. And so, I love this. I love this idea of, I love everything that you've just expressed here inside of that. And I really do like relating to, earning the wrinkles that I've got, earning these gray hairs, and just in recognizing that, like, this comes with time and a whole lot of experience and hopefully a touch of wisdom.
I think a lot of wisdom.
Well, and I love what you said about youthfulness is an attitude.
Mm-hmm.
I have always been aware of that. My grandmother, who just turned 100, is always been an incredibly youthful person. And my mom the same way, my dad the same way. And I always noticed that it was about their personality, because you can meet people who are in their 30s who are, they don't seem old, because that's not, I think because they're 30, you just don't think that seems old, but they seem beat down. Right? Beat down. And the other day when I mentioned that I was 50 to someone, they were like, you don't seem 50. You're so, and I said, not beat down. And they're like, yeah, not beat down. Because I don't really think it's about being youthful. It's about just rising to every day and realizing that whatever has happened because you had to learn that lesson, and you don't need to, wallow in that lesson, if you will. Which I feel is like what that beat down sort of attitude is about, is just like wallowing in the lessons that you had to learn. But yeah, youthfulness is absolutely an attitude.
Yeah. Love that. Yeah.
And enough sleep.
Yes. Adequate sleep. Right. Exactly. For real.
Yeah. I actually read something the other day that I thought was really interesting and perfect for our audience, which is, it's this, philosophy of exercise, if you will, particularly for women for whom hormone balancing is an issue. And the number one tip he has is that you need to manage your mindset, because women are more susceptible to hormonal stress, because, and this makes total sense to me. I was an anthropology major in undergrad, because our bodies are constantly thinking about, well, can you handle a pregnancy? And if you can't handle a pregnancy, then I'm not going to give you that kind of stress, because you're already too stressed, right? So cortisol levels, and I don't know if people who are listening have heard this before, but when you release cortisol stores fat, and cortisol is the stress hormone. And so it just goes back to that whole thing. Like, if you're not managing your mindset, then you might be unduly stressing your body in all these different ways. And because we're women, we're more sensitive to it, because our bodies want to determine whether or not we have the bandwidth to get pregnant. I thought that was really interesting.
That is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's like one of the last things we manage. And he's like, this is the first thing you manage. He's like, forget what you're eating. Forget how much you're exercising. If you're not managing your stress, you're never going to have any sort of ownership over your health. And I thought, okay, like, way to put the horse before the cart. We're always putting the cart before the horse in terms of like, what am I eating enough calories? Am I not eating enough calories? Whatever.
Right. How much, how much did I sweat today? Or
yeah. So to say like, hey, how about not being stressed? Okay.
Managing your mindset, right? Because if you're down in the dumps too, like, the last thing you want to do is be like, and now I'm gonna get out and go for a run. You're like, ugh, forget that, and pull the covers over your head, right? So it's gonna be even harder, I think, to pull yourself out of that.
Yeah, like and when you are stressed out, when you're tired, you're not gonna make good food choices, because you just literally don't have the bandwidth to make it, right? You're not. So kind of going back to what Niki is saying, is just like, being joyful and accepting and loving with your body is really a huge step in terms of reducing your stress, right? Reducing that cortisol. So,
And I'm really I want to just quickly touch on, if you could give us a little of an overview for those people who are looking to do the Mama Self-Love Bootcamp or already registered for it, what they can expect for your quick win segment, or like, just a little an overview or what they might walk away with.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I've come up with a little something just for this event. It's called Body Connection Heals Rejection. And so it's going to be pretty simple but powerful practices, just to help bridge that, or help heal any of that self-rejection. And how to do that is with connection. It's actually really simple. I mean, when we reject something, we're pushing it away, and we're creating a separation from it. And then when we're to heal that, to build that connection, we want to release the resistance and to reconnect with our bodies. It doesn't matter what age you are or anything in life. I think all of us have some type of something that we dislike about our bodies in some way. And that resistance, that self-judgment, it really, obviously it impacts our quality of life, because it impacts how we feel about ourselves. It impacts, how we present ourselves. So this quick win, I'm excited about these practices, because you'll walk away with some real, they're actually really simple practices, but they're super powerful. And you're going to be able to, I'm imagining a feeling of relief and release.
Oh, good.
Yay. A feeling of lightheartedness, because it's that resistance that's pushing. And when you start to let go of that, then there's just the allowance and the acceptance of what is. It doesn't mean that you have to like or love, giving love is different than loving in a different way, if that makes sense. But sometimes we don't love certain things, but being loving and establishing that relationship is the key. So that's what I hope to leave people with.
Ooh, that's a really great distinction. You might not be in love with that part of your body, right? But being loving towards it, right? This makes me think of, I have been in a 12-step program, and sometimes when you resist one of the things that you hear inside that program, that one of the things that that would be said by people who have been there longer than you would say, well, are you willing to be willing, right? You don't have to be willing to do it, but are you willing to be willing to do it, right? So it's one step removed, right? So you might not love, say, your kneecaps, right? Or whatever. I'm just going to pick kneecaps, which is not usually a triggering part of the body, but let's say
how did you know?
All right, girl, sorry. Sorry, girl. So you hate your kneecaps, you know what I mean? Or whatever, that there's the ugliest part of your body, and so you can be loving towards your kneecaps, right? If you can't quite get to I'm in love with my kneecaps. Right. Yeah. So I love that's such a great distinction, and helps just move the needle towards, ultimately self-love, self-acceptance. And it's one of the things that, when Alegre and I were just, thinking about when we wanted to do this boot camp, why we wanted to do it, is because we're on our own journeys with it too. Obviously, we're not perfect pictures of self-love and acceptance. Right. And I think that, and I read this book, I think I'm going to mess up the title. I'm going to have to put this in the show notes. I'm going to have to put this in our notes, the exact correct title after we get off of this, and the author too. But she talks about self-love as a radical act, not just not that loving oneself is radical in this day and age, in this age of, corporations trying to tell you you're not good enough, telling you you're less than. It's a radical thing to not look outside yourself to find some other approval or something to complete you or make you better or perfect, and how that is a way of just kind of sticking it to the man, you know what I mean? If you're really fully, totally in acceptance and love of yourself, then You know, you don't have to, you don't need to necessarily, spend money to fulfill that part of you. And she talks about it in other ways too, that self-love is a radical act, not just in the context of like capitalism, but in other areas as well. But I really, when I listened to that book, I was going to say read it, but I didn't read it. I listened to it. I was like, yeah, like I just felt like, if at the very least, even if the idea of self-love sometimes is just kind of like, it's far-fetched maybe, or, it sounds really woo-woo or something, but like, yeah, I gotta love myself. Yeah. I've heard it before. But I can really get down with the idea of it being like a radical thing, and I'm like, that fires me up. I'm like, all right, yeah, I want to keep things out of the capitalist loop by, gifting things to people and maybe not going to Target for every last little thing that I want. But this is another way to stick it to the man. I'm just going to love myself. Take that.
Yeah. I mean, well, think about, the diet industry is a huge industry, and it empowers that industry to keep our self-esteem low. I actually saw a meme just today. I just pulled it up, and it's it's a quote from Nicola Coughlan, and she's the actress in Bridgerton who's the current love interest in this season. And she has this great quote, which if you know what Nicola looks like, the quote will make sense to you. It is hard because I think women with my body type, as in women with perfect breasts, we don't get to see ourselves on screen enough. And I'm very proud as a member of the perfect breast community. I hope you enjoy seeing them. So she like she totally flipped the script on what everyone is talking about, right? And she's like, "You're welcome."
That's so perfect. Great.
Love that so much. Oh yeah. So I don't know why I didn't look this up, but the name of the book that I'm thinking of is, and by the way, this title is killer, second only to Peace Talks. The body is not an apology. The power of radical self-love.
Nice.
Like how it was in my late 20s when I finally realized, like, oh my goodness, I say I'm sorry to everyone all the time about everything. Whether, like, and I'm not talking about like stepping on someone's toe and apologizing for that. That's normal. But like, just maybe even getting in front of them in line when it's like clearly the most natural thing is that I would get in front of them. But like, I'm sorry, I got in front of you. I started like trying to just apologize for my existence was like the norm, and I just absolutely, and she talks very specifically about like her body, and the author, Sonia Renee Taylor. It's just a fantastic book. And she narrates the audiobook as well. And it is radical.
That sounds radical. I haven't read it. I look forward to reading that though, actually.
Yeah.
Sounds great. And I wanted just to add also to the distinction of loving as in liking, like you don't have to like it or love it, but love as an action verb, like as a verb, like to actively love ourselves.
Yes.
So we really, we might have another life after this. I don't know, but we have this life, we have this body, and how we relate to it really impacts our enjoyment of life itself.
Well, and I really believe that we are here to have a physical experience. And if you're spending all this time and energy hating the vehicle that is giving you this physical experience, that's just a lot of time wasted, It's like you're here for a small amount of time to be physical. So go out and be physical.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and I just want to say one thing Natasha and I always tell people is, because we always are about helping people become better planners. And, if you can't get with the affirmation that I love planning or I'm a great planner, everyone can get with the affirmation that I am becoming a better planner every day. And so if you can just love yourself a little bit more every day, eventually you'll get to that place of self-acceptance.
Right. And you can say that, right? You don't feel that resistance of like, oh, I love myself fully and totally accept myself. If you don't feel that, right? But you can say, but every day I love and accept myself more, right? And that feels true, right? Even if you can't say the end point today, because it may feel like, well, that's not true, right? You can get behind that idea every day of getting better.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting better all the time.
Well, I'm so excited to get these quick win tips. I love quick wins. And so for any of you who would like to join us, you can scan that QR code, or you can go to Mama Self-Love Bootcamp. For the podcast listeners, that's MAMASELFLOVEBOOTCAMP.com. It's very
I feel like we
rhythmic.
should make a jingle. We should make a jingle for
Right.
it because it's
MAMASELF. Yeah. Okay, that's your job, Natasha. Next week, I will be
gonna have
waiting
to-
for the jingle.
Nikki and I met because we were both singer-songwriters at that time, and this
Okay.
was a million years ago. So maybe Nikki can help me out with
You
that
two are the
too.
musicians.
I'll bring the cowbell.
Yeah. Well, we definitely need more cowbell.
And use the code EB50OFF, EB50OFF to get 50% off. So it's a $49 event, and it'll be $25 if you register in June. So register in June and join us, and you'll get all these awesome quick wins.
Nikki, thank you so much for joining us today. It's so wonderful to see your beautiful face.
Thank you so much for
And
having
just
me.
really, we're so happy that you're going to be jumping on for this Mama Self-Love Bootcamp as well. And
I'm
thank you so much
really
for joining us today.
Thank
Dream
you.
wild, wild dreamers.
Until next week. Thanks for joining us for the Harness the Power of Planning podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you listen.